Welcome back to my channel. Celeb Buzz, please share and subscribe and press the bell icon for new updates.
The Howard Hughes mystery finally solved, and it's not good. Howard Hughes was born Howard Robert Hughes, Jr. on December 24, 1905 in Houston, Texas. Hughes was son of a rich inventor and businessman. Zacchaeus Howard R. Hughes, Sr. made lots of money by creating a special oil drilling tool called the Sharp Hughes rock bit when his father died. Howard Jr., who was still a teenager, got all the money and the Hughes Tool Company, giving him both the cash and freedom to do whatever he wanted. From when he was little, Hughes had signs of being really smart and wanting to succeed his own way. He was like a kid genius who built his first radio at age 11 and his first motorized bike at 12. This surly smartness showed he would love machines and building things his whole life, even though he went to Rice University and the California Institute of Technology for a little while. Hughes quit school to focus on his dreams in business and flying planes. In the late 1920s and throughout the 1930s, Hughes started paying attention to Hollywood, starting Howard Hughes Productions. His first big movie, Hell's Angels, 1930, became one of the most expensive movies ever made back then. Hughes spent tons of money, even refilming big parts with sound after movies started having talking. He also made and produced shocking hits like Scarface, 1932, and The Outlaw, 1943. Often fighting with movie censors because of the bold stuff in his films, Hughes' work in movies was known for new ideas and causing trouble. Had a good eye for talent and was known for finding or helping actresses like Jean Harlow, Jane Russell, whose careers he helped start. But it was in flying planes where Hughes made his biggest mark. A brave pilot and smart aircraft designer, he set many speed records during the 1930s. In 1935, he flew the Hughes H-1 Racer TOA New World Speed Record of 352 mph. Just 3 years later, he flew around the whole world in a Lockheed 14 Super Electra, finishing the trip in air record-breaking 91 hours. These amazing things made Hughes a national hero and helped make him a symbol of American bravery and progress. He later started Hughes Aircraft Company, which became a big defense contractor and a leading force in aerospace and electronics. His designs, projects helped a lot with Mackengrader, guided missiles, later satellite technology. Along with his movie and flying achievements, Hughes was a smart businessman. In 1932, he founded Hughes Aircraft, which grew into a major aerospace and defense contractor, especially during World War II and the Cold War. He took control of Trans-World Airlines TWA in the 1940s and helped it change it into a major international airline, competing with Pan Am for control in the skies. His fights with government officials, especially over monopolies, became legendary and showed his hatred for government interns. One of Hughes's biggest and most famous engineering projects was the H for Hercules, better known as the Spruce Goose. It's a huge wooden seaplane for flying across the Atlantic during World War II. Only flew once on November 2 and 1947. But that short flight was enough to make it. It's famous in aviation history, though often criticized as an impractical vanity project. The Spruce Goose showed Hughes's never-ending pursuit of new ideas and his refusal to accept the limits of normal thinking. As the years went by, however, Hughes's life became darker and more mysterious. Hurt by constant pain from several plane crashes, especially an early deadly crash of the XF-11SPY aircraft in 1946, started relying more on codeine and became addicted to painkillers. Over time, his behavior became more weird, and he became more withdrawn, hiding away in a series of fancy hotel rooms where Hugh would spend years alone. By the 1960s and 70s, he had pulled back almost completely from public life, giving orders through a group of helpers and business partners, while keeping complete secrecy. His personal weird habits, including being obsessed with cleanliness, a fear of germs, and strange eating habits, became legendary and caused decades of guessing and storytelling. Despite these problems, Hughes kept having huge influence in technology, aviation, and healthcare through the Howard Hughes Medical Institute, which he started in 1953. He paid for groundbreaking medical research. Today, It's still one of the largest and most respected charity medical organizations in the world, standing as a lasting reminder of Hughes's commitment, science, and innovation. On January 12, 1957, the mysterious billionaire, aviator, and film tycoon Howard Hughes quietly married actress John Peters in a small secret ceremony held at a modest hotel in Tonopah, Nevada. This remote desert town, far away from the glamour of Hollywood or the attention of the press, showed Hughes's increasing lucrative lifestyle, his desire to avoid the media circus that had surrounded his previous relationships. The wedding surprised even those close to the couple, as it was kept secretantal after it happened, a trademark of Hughes's deeply private nature. The roots of their relationship went back more than 10 years to the 1940s, somewhere in Hughes and Peters first met, long before she became famous as a movie actress. At the time, Jean Peters was a fresh-faced young woman who had recently won a bow tie contest in her home state, Ohio, and was thinking about a career in the entertainment industry. Hughes, already a powerful force in aviation and Hollywood, was known for taking a personal interest in young women with potential, often helping to guide their careers. However, in Peters, Hare reportedly saw something different, an intelligent, down-to-earth woman with Midwestern values who disliked the fake parts of show business and preferred reading, gardening, and being alone to the spotlight. Their first treatments reached a fever pitch in 1947 and became the subject of intense public fascination. Hughes, then one of the most eligibly wealthy bachelors in the world, had been romantically linked to many high-profile actresses, including Katharine Hepburn, Ava Gardner, and Lana Turner. His pairing with Peters, who was less flashy and not yet a household name, raised eyebrows and mad headlines. There was lots of questing in the press about a coming wedding, and many believed that Hughes was finally ready to settle down. However, despite the growing closeness between them, Peters ultimately turned down his early marriage proposals, saying in interviews and to friends that she could not balance a traditional housewife role with her dreams in Hollywood. She was determined to build a career on her own terms and feared that marriagetto a man as controlling and high-profile as Hughes would crush her independence. Over the years, Hughes's fascination with Jean Peters never went away. Long after their early romance cooled, and while she was pursuing her acting career, Hughes reportedly stayed obsessed with her. In later years, several of Hughes's workers and biographers would claim that Peters was the only woman he ever truly loved. A statement that, while hard to prove, was repeated often enough to suggest a deep and lasting emotional connection. Unlike his many Usurian ships, which were often short-lived and full of drama, his attachment to Peters seemed to last be in physical closeness or romantic involvement. This lasting interest took in more disturbing dimensions as Hughes's mental health began to get worse. In the 1950s, his famous paranoia and obsessive-compulsive behaviors had already begun to show. Jean Peters became a central figure in his increasingly elaborate spying operations. Even when they were no longer romantically involved, Hughes told his team of private security agents to follow her constantly, watching her whereabouts, her friends, and her phone calls. She was basically under constant observation by a man who could not birth. Thought of losing track of her. These reports, while scary, were later confirmed by multiple people, including actor Max Scholter. Scholter, a rising star, who appeared on Jean Peters in the 1953 film Niagara, developed a close friendship with her during filming. According to Scholter, the two of them often spent time together off-set discussing books, life, and philosophy, as well as their shared disappointment with the fake aspects of Hollywood. Unknown to Scholter at first, his innocent interactions with Peters had not gone unnoticed. Hughes's security detail, for watchful and fiercely protective of the woman's employer still viewed as his, began shadowing Scholter and writing reports on his movements and conversations. Eventually, Hughes's men confronted Scholter directly, making veiled threats and warning him clearly to distance himself from Peters. They hinted that if he did not stop contact, they would use Hughes's huge influence in the entertainment industry to ruin his budding career. These events showed not only how deep Hughes' obsession was, but also how far he was willing to go to maintain control over Peters' life. Even from a distance, despite these invasive and unsettling tactics, Peters would later describe Hughes in somewhat understanding terms, suggesting that she saw the vulnerable, damaged man behind the billionaire persona. Their marriage, which lasted until 1971, was shrouded in secrecy, with Peters living largely apart from Hughes and rarely appearing in public. She retired from acting soon after their wedding and largely withdrew from public life, choosing privacy over fame. Their union, though unconventional and marked by Hughes's increasing reclusiveness and weirdness, lasted far longer than any of his other romantic relationships, reinforcing the idea that John Peters held a special place in his heart. For decades, the life and final years of Howard Hughes, one of the most mysterious and private figures in American history, have been shrouded in mystery, guessing, and myth. Once a handsome aviator, film producer, business tycoon, one of the richest men in the world, Hughes became equally famous for his wordness, his obsession with cleanliness, his increasingly bizarre behavior, and his near total disappearance from public view in the latter half of his life. Many rumors swirled about his declining health, private habits, and the conditions under which he lived and died. But only in recent years, through declassified medical records, personal accounts from close helpers, and investigative journalists, has a clearer and far more disturbing picture emerged. And it isn't good. The mystery surrounding Hughes' final years begins with his vanishing from the public eye in the late 1950s. While still controlling vast business empires, including Hughes Aircraft, TWA, and a sprawling real estate portfolio, he withdrew from direct interaction with nearly everyone outside his innermost circle. Reports of Hughes locking himself in darkened rooms, demanding obsessive rituals of cleanliness, and communicating on through written notes or via proxies feed up public fascination. But behind those legends lay a darker truth. Howard Hughes was a man, slowly consumed by unchecked mental illness, chronic physical pain, and addiction. For years, his closest helpers, many of whom were Mormons from the so-called Mormon Mafia, trusted to keep his secrets, help him manage his daily life, business affairs, and increasingly erratic instructions. They also, it appears, shielded him from outside world and prevented medical professions from intervening in meaningful ways. As Hughes retreated into seclusion, his health deteriorated drastically. Long addicted codeine and other opiates, he refused to seek consistent medical care, has kept grooming himself. His unsynthetic frame became skeletal, his teeth rotted. He developed bed sores, hair fused to cut his hair or fingernails, both of which grew grotesquely long and unkempt. Yet the full extent of this tragic decline remained hidden from the public until his death in 1976. When Hughes finally died aboard a private plane en route to a Houston hospital, the mystery surrounding his physical condition reached a grim climax. The man who had once been admired for his striking looks, daring feats in aviation, and boundless ambition was found weighing less than 100 pounds. His body ravaged by neglect, malnutrition, and the consequences of untreated disease. The autopsy revealed multiple, broken-off hypodermic needles lodged in his arms. His kidneys were failing, and he had suffered from multiple infections. In short, he outlived his final years in horrifying conditions, neglected and arguably exploited. The final blow to the myth of Hughes' solitary genius came with the revelation of the chaos that defined his past. With no clear and valid will, a slew of forged documents emerged, some as wild as the infamous Mormon will discovered in Utah, naming an obscure station owner as a beneficiary. His estate, worth billions, became the object of intense legal battles that lasted for years, further tarnishing his legacy and revealing how little control Hughes had over his empire by the end. In hindsight, the story of Howard Hughes isn't just one of brilliance and wealth. It's also a stark warning about what happens when a powerful man becomes isolated, surrounded by people who serve his needs but not his best interests, and is left to spiral into self-destruction. The mystery of Howard Hughes may finally be solved, but the truth, stripped of its Hollywood glamour and public intrigue, is unsettling, heartbreaking, and indeed not good.